And I have to tell you, this bill seems like one of the most vindictive pieces of legislation I've ever seen. There's nothing in this bill that addresses any kind of help for a person who is genuinely suicidal, which this bill has been, this is how it's been sold to us. I mean, I got a email from the sponsor saying that actually Roger and I didn't care about people committing suicide, but we care about why they're committing suicide, not how they're committing suicide. When Senator Boquist presented the bill in the Senate, he made a joke about how ridiculous it was that there were people concerned that their crazy ex-wife might use this against them, and what kind of idiot is living with their crazy ex-wife. Well, the problem is, what if your crazy ex-wife is now sleeping with a cop? Under the bill, the unamended bill, a cop can do the same thing. Now, what happens is, in this case, a person who has no mental health qualifications makes an accusation against someone. A person who has no mental health qualifications condemns that person. We've had judges in Multnomah County who said they believed that the guns that belong to police should be put on a barge and dumped in the ocean. So God help whoever is on the losing end of that judge if you get there. There's no due process in this bill at all. I say because a judge is involved, there's due process, but it's all after the fact. The first indication that you've been accused of anything is when a cop shows up at your door and says, "I'm taking your stuff." Now, I really like you to give a little thought to how that's going to work. Knock on the door, a cop comes in and says, "Give me your guns." Well, in a lot of people's cases, they don't know how many guns I have. They don't know where my guns are. They don't know what I own or where those things are located. So what's the process exactly going to be? Does a cop search my house? Does he demand the combination to my safe? If I refuse to give it to him, does he come in with a concrete saw and bust it open? All of this without me ever having been accused of a crime, let alone convicted of a crime. Now, I know no other situation where this principle is in effect, that your possessions and your privacy can be taken away by the authorities with absolutely no indication, no proof that you've done anything wrong. All right? There's another issue that you need to consider that was really downplayed by the sponsor of this bill and in the Senate, is that transfer of firearms in this state, now thanks to Senate Bill 941, is a much more complicated process than it used to be. And in fact, there are some firearms that can't be transferred, not even to the police. Now, I spoke to the chief of police in my town, and he said that he believed, because he has a brand new cop shop, that he would have room to store guns that he confiscated from people. But he would not have been able to do it had they not built that building. What about the smaller departments in the rural parts of the state? Where are all these guns going to go? And what if somebody has an NFA-regulated firearm, like a short-barrel rifle or short-barrel shotgun? Cops aren't allowed to have them, and you can't transfer them to another person without probably about a year-long process. None of this was addressed because, we're going to work it out, but these things have to happen. And if you want to transfer these firearms to another individual, well, you can't simply transfer them. Now we have to go through this big production of the background checks, and it's very possible, as I hear every single day, that people will simply be delayed or denied. Then what happens to those firearms? As we're waiting, I spoke to a gun dealer today. He has a person waiting at a delay that's over 2 years old. So where do all these things go? And these are just things that I don't think have been given any thought. But obviously, my biggest concern is that we've paid no attention to getting anybody any help. We've just taken this as a way to punish people instead of help them. And we haven't given the people who are having their property taken away any due process until after the fact, and then they get to go and pay to go to court to prove they've done nothing wrong. And under the current bill, this accusation could be made by my brother who lives in New Jersey, who hasn't seen me in 5 years. And so while I know this has been sold to us and to you as a suicide prevention measure, it seems to accomplish none of that. All it seems to accomplish is to punish people who haven't been convicted of a single crime.